It's time for Business Minds Coffee Chat, an inspiring show about the journey to personal and professional growth. And now, your host, Jay Shear.
Hey everyone, you're listening to Business Minds Coffee Chat, and I am your host, Jay Shear, and I am super excited today. I have got two fantastic guests in the studio with me. My first guest is Amy Lukasic. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Lukasic.
Lukasic.
Like you're sick.
Like I'm sick.
You don't feel well.
All right. I'm joined by Amy Lukasic, Flagler County Tourism's Executive Director, and the amazing Deborah Morgan, Destination Development and Community Engagement Manager. And today, we are going to be talking all about tourism. Yay. Well, first of all, welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
It is my pleasure. I really am excited about today's conversation. And, I get the opportunity to be around both of you, at least once a month, right? And it's always such a great experience. And I love to see the way the two of you work together, the way that you engage with so many in this community, and your leadership is absolutely on fire. So I just want to thank you first and foremost for the work that you do, the way that you show up, and the way that you set such a high bar for so many of us. So kudos, fantastic to both of you. Well, thank you. Thank you. So I wanted to have both of you here today so we could really talk all about tourism, talk about the TDC, what the TDC is, because it has certainly been in the news as of late. And there's really just been a lot of buzz, a lot of conversation going on. And I wanted to talk about what the two of you actually do, what your department does, how it impacts Flagler County, kind of talk about the structure a little bit and how it fits into the overall picture of Flagler County. And, we can kind of talk about statistics, which is always good, but I really want to tell the story about tourism here in Flagler County. So why don't we start off by sharing what your roles entail, just very briefly, and then I'd like to talk about the hierarchy and how you fit into Flagler County. So let's start there.
Yeah, so in terms of our role in what we do, it all starts with a Florida statute, and that guides what our office can do and should be doing. We are fully funded through the tourist development tax, which is a tax that someone pays when they stay in an overnight accommodation, whether it's an Airbnb, a resort, a motel, a campground. And here in Flagler, that bed tax is 5%. So that 5%, the reason it exists is because long ago, hoteliers, they agreed to be self-imposed. That's a self-imposed tax that they said, hey, we agree to tax our guest so that we can continue to invest in tourism promotion. That is the foundation and the spirit of the statute, is to encourage tourism promotion, because we all know when visitors come to town, they spend money and then they leave. So we kind of say we import taxpayers in a lot of situations. So that statute then has eligible and allowable uses of it, of how it can be spent. And we can't spend it to build roads or, dredge canals or build sidewalks. It's very specific purposes, and it's all to reinvest in tourism promotion. So here in Flagler, we have 3 buckets that we divide those bed tax revenues.
Okay.
And the statute also says you can only spend X amount, up to X amount on the different categories. And the buckets that we have is one bucket, 60% is the operations and the advertising and the promotion. And that really is the operation of our office. And we have a small but mighty staff, about 5 of us. And, that pays our salaries, and that buys our pencils. It helps with the website. It buys advertising. Again, that's the majority of our funds go to exactly why the tourism tax was even enacted, promotion. And, we're a small market, and we're right in between two of the big dogs, St. Johns County. They have name recognition with St. Augustine. Daytona is, known for world famous beach, Daytona Beach. So it's very competitive. So we spend, out of that 60%, 20% goes to 25% goes to advertising and promotion, which is what the hoteliers want. Then probably the other portion of that 60% goes to staff and operations. Then the other part goes to all the supporting services that we need, our website, printing and designing brochures, giving out grants within the community. So then that leaves the other two buckets for capital improvement, and then the other bucket for beach renourishment. And the reason those are the buckets is because that's the way the TDC recommended it, Tourist Development Council, to the Board of County Commissioners, so that we're continually reinvesting into the community in those different segments or categories.
Okay, so the first bucket is 60%.
Yes.
What is the percentage approximately for capital improvement and then beach renourishment?
Yep, it's split, so they each get 20%.
20% each.
Yeah, and some examples, because ideally, when we're investing in a capital project, it's also to benefit the community, not just for tourists. So it's a win-win when we feel we can use tourism tax dollars to fulfill a community need, such as expansion of the Palm Coast Southern Recreation Center. That's a most recent grant that we awarded for a project that's been completed. It allowed us to recruit larger tennis and pickleball tournaments. So that's a reinvestment, and these hotels rely on these sports tourism groups that come in. We've also invested into the Flagler Beach Pier and Boardwalk project that's going on. That was $745,000. And we've done Indian Trail Sports Complex when they needed new bathrooms and expansion of the field. So it's a win-win when we know that our residents use these facilities as well.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you sharing this, because I think sometimes we don't, if we don't know, we don't know, right? We don't know, we don't know, I guess is the best way to put it. And sometimes when we think about tourism and what you do, we're really just thinking about, well, all you're working on is attracting, trying to attract new visitors to this area. And, you're doing advertisements in magazines and so forth. And it's so much more than that, right? We all benefit from what you're working on each and every day. So I want to put a pin in that for just a moment. Share with us how long you've been in this particular role.
4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years?
Yeah, it's all a blur.
It goes by quickly, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. Well, I want to go over to Deborah for a moment. So, Deborah, give us kind of a snapshot of what your role is and kind of what your day-to-day looks like.
Oh, day-to-day, I don't know. It's as assigned. But back in 2019, we did a strategic plan in our office, a tourism strategic plan. And as a result of that plan, there were some new jobs created to fulfill the benchmarks of the strategic plan. Mm-hmm. And one of those positions was destination development and community engagement. So that's how I end up with that job. I'm the first person to fulfill that position right now. So my role really is staying connected with the community, trying to attend meetings and just seeing what's going on in different places, like Flagler Beach Business Bureau, places like that. Okay. I'm also special projects. I do a lot of the background for special projects. My first huge one with the strategic plan, the arts and culture community came out and said, we really need some representation. We need some support from the government, the county. That's what we like to see. So one of our pillars within the strategic plan is to develop a cultural council, which is what I've spent the last 5 years working on, finding out what is a local arts agency, how are they formed. There is a statute for local arts agencies, so we use that as a guide in forming this. So brought together the volunteers, who would be the board members. So in 2021, we finally were able to put together a board and incorporate Flagler County Cultural Council. They are completely independent from any government entity. They are their own operation, and Flagler County has recognized the Flagler County Cultural Council as the local arts agency within Flagler County. So we do have a fully functioning volunteer board. They're doing amazing things. My job as the liaison is to just continue supporting them and providing for that organization so that they can continue to flourish. So that's one thing that I do. And my other big project is the Eco Discovery Center that we are going to be hopefully breaking ground on a year from now on State Road 100 right at the foot of the pedestrian bridge. So I always like to say the pedestrian bridge will no longer be a bridge to nowhere. It's going to be going somewhere. So there is a 23-acre lot there. It's they call it the Shell Pit. It's a lay-down yard for road and bridge right now. It's not heavily wooded, so we really won't be having to do a lot as far as, damaging the environment to build our building. I'm very eco-conscious, so I'm making sure that we disturb the land as little as possible, make sure that this building integrates into the environment as much as possible, and make sure that we are able to provide any sort of, I don't know that we'll be LEED certified necessarily, but a lot of those LEED practices to make sure that we are as sustainable as possible. So I do the research. Amy and I have been on a bunch of site visits to see what other centers are doing and just gaining that knowledge. I do a lot of the draft work for the scope of services, anything like that we have to do. So, and then any other duties as assigned. Lots of those. Well, I love it. Obviously, both of you have your hands very full. And doing all kinds of amazing things that really do impact not only what we do today, but also impact our future. So tell me, what is the structure of the Tourism Development Council look like? So who do you report directly to?
I report directly to Flagler County Administration.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, and the Tourist Development Council is set up by statute of the makeup of the board. So we have 9 members, and by statute, you have to have the county commissioner serve as chairman of the TDC, and right now we have Chairman Andy Dance, and then you have to have another elected position from the largest municipalities. So here that's Palm Coast. So we have Vice Mayor Teresa Pontieri representing Palm Coast. And then we have Commissioner Eric Cooley from City of Flagler Beach. So those are our elected boards. And then by statute, we have to have 3 individuals who impose and collect that tourist development tax. So they have very vested interest in how we spend our money.
Okay.
And so from there, we have Lisa Robinson from the Hampton Inn. She's the general manager. Dan Mandrine, he's the general manager of Hilton Garden Inn. And then Stephen Baker, he's group sales director for Hammock Beach Resort and Spa.
Okay.
And then we've got 2 individuals that are in the tourism industry. And so we have Pam Walker, and she's a travel agent, travel writer. And we have Johnny Lugerai, who is the owner and manager of Oceanside Beach Bar and Grill.
Okay. And each of the members of the TDC, they serve, what is the term for each of their roles?
Within the council?
Yeah, within the council. So
they're all equal.
Okay.
Yep, they're all equal, and they are the recommending body.
They're the recommending body.
Yes,
okay.
to the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay.
And that's because they understand the business the best, and so they're able to guide us, in that strategic plan that Deborah was talking about, those 2 big initiatives. The council agreed on this strategic plan that had, develop an eco discovery center. We don't have an opportunity to be face to face with our visitors. Tourism is one of the main, if not the top economic driver. Yet there's not a location where we can have that interaction and get feedback and service the visitors when they're here. We talked about advertising and promoting getting them here, but our job doesn't end at that point when the hotel room's booked. We want to be able to tell them more about Flagler County and what we have to offer. So they may have come for one reason, but hey, did you know we have this this activity, this performing arts center to attend? So that's our role, is to continue promoting and economic activity throughout the county.
All right, perfect. Well, we are going to take a brief break to thank our amazing sponsors. Don't you go anywhere, my friends. We will be right back. You're listening to Business Minds Coffee Chat. Don't go anywhere.
Thank you so much for recommending us to your family and friends. When you need a 30, 60, or 90-minute massage, it's real easy to book your appointment online. MassageByNatalie.org. MassageByNatalie.org.
This is Jay Shear. Are you a business owner or entrepreneur trying to figure out how to improve and achieve greater results? If so, I'm speaking to you. I provide the tools, coaching, and accountability you need to gain clarity around your personal and professional goals, remove the excuses holding you back, build the mindset, leadership skills, and proven strategies to grow your business and become the best version of yourself. To learn more or to apply for my coaching services, call 904-236-0431 or visit jshearbusinessconsulting.com.
There's no business like show business like no business I know. Visit the Fitzgerald Performing Arts Center at Flagler Auditorium. We're about to release our new season of professional touring shows. Visit our website at flaglerentertainment.com. Sign up for our newsletter. You can be the first to know about our shows and special offers. And remember, every time you buy a ticket to a show, you support the performing arts in Flagler schools and you support our local economy.
All right, we're back. And again, you're listening to Business Minds Coffee Chat, and I am in the studio today with my very special guests. I have Amy Lukasic. I'm going to get that right one of these days. Amy Lukasic and Deborah Morgan. Both of them are with me here in the studio today, and we are going to be bringing in a special guest right now on the phone. Mark, can you bring him in here? He's already with us. So I am really happy to welcome Brian London. Brian London is with us on the phone. He is a highly respected tourism economist and destination marketing expert. Brian, are you with us?
Great morning. Yes, I'm here.
All right. Well, fantastic. Well, thank you for joining us today. So as you heard, we've got Amy here in the studio and Deborah in the studio with us as well. And we're thrilled to have you joining in the conversation. So,
thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we're talking all about tourism on the show today. And we've been talking a little bit about the Tourism Development Council. We've been talking about the importance of tourism here in Flagler County, and I wanted to pull you in just to get your perspective from maybe a wider look at the state of Florida and kind of focusing on how important not only tourism is, but the work that these two powerful ladies here are doing and how that impacts all of us here in Flagler County and beyond, right, in the state of Florida and even further beyond that. So I'd love to get your perspective on TDCs in general and what you have been reading about here of late in the news on TDCs.
Well, thank you very much for your question, and most importantly for facilitating the conversation. You know, as Amy said a moment ago, you know, the work doesn't end when the visitor arrives, and the work promoting how important it is for economic prosperity, as you heard, and of course quality of life factors, which also seem to improve as tourism becomes a larger part of the conversation. And TDCs, of course, are collaborative by nature. They are comprised of both elected officials, industry representatives, and residents. All of these folks are also residents of the community. And so really it's a residential represented board, some of whom are elected, some of whom represent an industry, and others who represent the broader community. together they meet and discuss what's most important to them and their community at the individual level. And just like no two tourists are the same, no two communities are the same. And so to keep those conversations going and active is really the most important thing. And that's what's happening in the state of Florida. Florida is one of the only states to have this layer, this Tourist Development Council layer between the mayor's office or the county manager and the residents of the community. And so that's a nice level of conversation and collaboration that Florida benefits from that other states necessarily do not. And you can see the benefits in all of the different assets that we have available to us, not just for leisure, but also for recreation and business.
Yeah. So, first of all, thank you for that. And before we took the break, Amy was talking about the makeup of the TDC here in Flagler County. So, I'd love you to speak directly to Amy and Deborah. And, when you think about the work that they do, how important that work is and how it touches all of us, all the residents here, what would you say to them? I mean, if you were sitting here right now, and I know you've had the opportunity in the past to have some face-to-face conversation with them, but what words would you use to encourage them or to share with them about the importance of what they do?
Well, the most important thing to remember is that the community supports your efforts, and they just might not yet be aware of all the different ways in which you are positively impacting their quality of life. You just keep having those conversations, and if they're not at your table, to make sure that you're at their table, metaphorically speaking, and to keep the conversations up and open and lively, and to, of course, be a good listener and make sure that we're understanding what their ambitions are and that the needs of the community are incorporated into the way that we can allocate, funding and time management. And I know in Flagler County, they are essentially leading the state in doing that, in listening to stakeholders, in making sure their concerns are heard, being not just the voice of the visitor so that the community can understand the value of travel and tourism, but also being a voice of the resident in making sure that visitors understand what's important to this community, what our culture is, what are the things that we value, and then kind of matching the two up into the sort of perfect experience.
That's so
keep
good.
up the great work is what I would say to begin, and keep up the great work is what I would say at the end.
Yeah, so good. So, Amy and Deborah, any quick comments or questions that you would have for Brian?
Well, I think with what's going on with House Bill 7033, we're all keeping an eye on because that would greatly affect our community, our economic value that tourism brings. Part of that proposed bill is directing those tourist development taxes to offset property taxes. Mm-hmm. And while that, as a resident, your first, reaction could be, "Oh, that's great! I would love to have my lower property tax." But in the end, actually, it's an unintended consequence that will happen. It actually will further harm your property tax bill because all of those services and amenities that visitors pay when they come here, in order to maintain that, it'll have to be paid somehow. And again, if you go back to what I was saying about the spirit and the foundation, the purpose of the tourist development tax is to promote tourism. If we're not promoting, then the people aren't coming. So even though we did $4.3 million this year, if you even take a 10% decrease, if we stop greatly decrease our efforts, then that means we have less money to quote unquote offset those property taxes. So it sounds great in theory maybe, but that's not the way to go about it. So we are asking our legislators to withdraw, delete that portion of House Bill 733 that talks about that TDT. And let us, to me, let us continue doing the work that we do. If it's not broke, let's not go down that road.
Yeah. Deborah, any thoughts from your end?
Yeah. Hi, Brian. It's a nice surprise. To your point about staying engaged with the community, while we are the tourism office and our job is to bring those tourists here and offer them opportunities while they're here, we are also very, very conscientious about what those opportunities are for our local residents as well. And part of our focus for this Eco Discovery Center is not we want our tourists to come there and we want to offer them those opportunities to expand their nights here, but we also want to make it a very, very welcoming place for our residents to come to as a destination to find out, maybe they can purchase tickets, without having to go all the way to the auditorium or something like that, or, they can come there and rent their bicycles and go for a ride, or we can have organized walking tours, or, doing events locally, providing that event space for them. So, this Eco Discovery Center is not just a tourist center. It is for the locals. It is for our citizens. And it's very much a part of the process that we're going through. So, and it is very important to us. So we hope to build something that the residents are going to absolutely love, embrace, and want to be a part of. And the best part is the whole thing will be funded using tourism development tax dollars and not general fund dollars. So, that's a good point that we like to try and keep out there so people understand the funding mechanism.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Deborah, and also Amy for your comments. And Brian, I want to thank you for jumping on with us on the Business Minds Coffee Chat for this conversation. I really appreciate it. And our arms are out welcoming you to come to Flagler County anytime that you want, because there is a lot to do here, and we can't wait to show you more of what this area has to offer when you and your family come here. So look forward to staying in touch. And again, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right. So let's address that House bill for a moment. So let's just say, let's kind of paint a picture, and let's say that it does go through and TDCs are eliminated. Mm-hmm. Okay. What does that mean for the two of you?
I retire.
Yeah, we won't really need we won't have jobs.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then obviously for all of us, for the residents here, I mean, you just eloquently stated that, look, I mean, you hear the comments too that people are like, yeah, let's get rid of it, right? And kind of lower our taxes. How fantastic would that be? And, I get those comments, but we really need to understand the facts here, right? Because as we've been talking about on today's show, there are so many other areas that you touch that impact all of us. So what can we do? I think you mentioned about getting a hold of your representatives, but give us some specific things that we as residents can do to support what you're doing and ensure that we have a TDC in place, not only today, but in the future.
Yeah, and I know that over the summer, in Tallahassee, they'll continue to have the discussion about the tourist development tax and expanding the uses. And that may make sense in some communities like Orlando, the big dogs in Miami, Hillsborough County, Pinellas County. Those are well-known communities with multi-million-dollar budgets. That would be a huge impact here. And, we hope that the legislators, just kind of like Brian said, no two tourists are the same. And so neither are no two tourist development budgets are the same. So it would greatly affect us. And we hope that expansion of the TDT, meaning when I say expansion, open up other allowable uses such as property tax, building workforce housing. We don't generate enough bed tax to make a dent in that at all. So, that's what we would ask as our residents is to, if it's not broke, why try to fix it?
Yeah. As we are wrapping up our conversation today, I would love it if both of you, and Deborah, I'm going to start with you. I would love it if you would give all of us including me, a challenge, what is one thing that you would challenge us to do starting immediately? Doesn't have to be related to tourism, but just a challenge.
I would say what I would love to see just within the community is for people to understand situations before they start commenting on them. Less of a knee-jerk reaction and more of a come from a place of knowledge and experience. And I will tie that back a little bit to our office. With the Eco Discovery Center, overwhelmingly people do love it, but obviously there's naysayers to everything.
Sure.
So rather than go out and make your negative comments about it, call us, ask us. Take the time to call and ask people what's going on instead of making assumptions of what you think is happening. So that for me is very hard. I honestly try and stay off social media. I really don't get involved in people's comments. I don't want to because I find while a lot of people have great information to share, they don't have all the information in their sharing. So that would be my thing,
okay.
Community-wide.
Great challenge. I appreciate you sharing that. All right, Amy,
it's
your challenge.
That's a hard one to beat because that is probably the biggest uphill battle that we have. People are like, why are we building a building? No one's going to go there when we need money for 1, 2, and 3. The conversation now is the beach. So to Deborah's point, seek out the information and the facts because this is a result of the strategic plan, and it will allow us to have an additional revenue stream outside of the bed tax, and it will also give hopefully an increase to other businesses because you have someone there pushing people out into the community that they otherwise wouldn't have known about.
Very good. I thank you very much for that, and thank you very much for joining me today on Business Minds Coffee Chat. What a great conversation. I appreciate both of you, and as I said at the top of the show, you definitely have raised the bar. I love your leadership. I love the way that you impact and show up in this community. And thank you very much for joining me. And for all of you, I want to thank you very much for tuning in. And we will be back next Saturday morning at 8:30. And until then, my friends, keep learning and growing and keep doing the work to reach your potential. Take care, everyone.